Hola amigos y amigas, you're listening to the English Made Simple show. This is episode number 336, number 336, número 336. Welcome back to another episode of today's show. It's your host Milena from EnglishMadeSimple.net. I'm here with another episode of the English Made Simple show, and I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy today's episode. Today's episode is for travelers, especially those who feel a bit nervous navigating an airport in English. And I have a personal reason for doing today's episode. My mother-in-law is coming to visit us here in Adelaide, in Australia. She's flying all the way from Santiago de Chile. She doesn't speak English, not a word, but she's trying to learn English. And I want her to feel more confident when she lands in Sydney or Melbourne and then makes her way to Adelaide. I think there's no direct flights from Santiago to Adelaide. You have to fly to Sydney, clear customs there, or you can land in Melbourne. And then you grab a connecting flight to go to Adelaide. So I thought, why not share 10 useful travel phrases that could help anybody survive an airport? We'll go step by step today, so listen up. We're going to go from check-in to security to boarding to arrival. And along the way, I'll throw in some tips for avoiding getting lost at the airport. I'll also share a couple of my own airport mistakes, so you can learn from that as well. You can learn from my pain and embarrassment. Okay, step number 1. When you arrive at the airport, you go to something called a check-in counter. When you first arrive at the airport, usually go to the check-in counter. This is where you drop off your luggage and get your boarding pass. So when you go to the counter, you can talk to the assistant there or a flight attendant. You can say, I'd like to check in, please. So if you haven't done it online, you can actually do it in person as well. You can say, I would like to check in, please. This is the simplest way to start a conversation. Okay, I'd like to check in. As this person is trying to check you in, they will also ask you about your seat preference. They will ask you if you want an aisle seat or a window seat. And if they don't ask you, you can ask them. Just say, can I have an aisle seat if you prefer that? Or can I have a window seat? Can I have an aisle seat, please? Can I have a window seat, please? So according to Weon Inteligente or the online dictionary, the word aisle, which is spelled A-I-S-L-E, but S is silent. The word aisle means the walkway between seats, usually on a plane or in a theater. So an aisle seat means you can get up easily without climbing over people. That's my preference usually when I travel. I prefer to book an aisle seat so I can get in and out quickly of the plane. Okay, that's my reason. Now, for some longer flights, you might want to take window seat because obviously you want to be able to lean on something and sleep, right? Everyone has their preference. You can choose an aisle seat or a window seat. I don't know if you want a middle seat. That's usually the cheapest seat. All right. So when my mother-in-law checks in, I'm going to tell her to ask for an aisle seat because she likes to stretch her legs and because she's going to have a stopover when she lands in Sydney or Melbourne. She might want to get in and out quickly, and it's just easier when you have an aisle seat to do that. Cool. So step 2, after you get your boarding pass, you go through immigration and security. At this stage, you'll be asked for your passport, so you always have to have it handy. And sometimes your boarding pass as well. You have to have that with you. They might ask you, show me your passport. Could you please show me your passport? Or you can say, here's my passport. Simple, nice and easy, short and sweet. Here's my passport. You can just hand it over to them. And sometimes at this step, you have to go through some sort of scanning. Your bags get scanned, your carry-on luggage gets scanned, and sometimes they ask you to take your shoes off. Now, I know that in some countries they'll ask you to remove your shoes at security. I know it's weird, but not every time. And if you're not sure, you can also ask them, do I need to take my shoes off? I don't know if this is still happening. I think there are some new rules when you're traveling that maybe they don't need to have you remove shoes. But anyway, just in case, you can say, do I need to take my shoes off? If you're not sure. Okay, so now a short story, confession time. I once forgot to take something out of my bag when I went to security. This was about 7 years ago. I once forgot to take a water bottle out of my bag. It's a water bottle. Security stopped me, looked very serious, this guy, and said, "Ma'am, is this yours? What's this in your bag? Is this yours?" Pointing at the water bottle. And I said, "Oh, yes. Do you want some water?" Let's just say that wasn't the correct answer, okay? That wasn't the correct answer. I basically had to throw this bottle away and go through security again. I had to queue again, stand behind people, and go through security again after I threw the bottle out. So I don't know if this is still happening, if they still ask you to remove liquids or water or perfumes and things like that. They could still have some of these rules. But anyway, just learn from my mistakes. Don't take your water bottle with you when you approach security. Just throw it out. All right, so after that, you will go on to duty-free shopping. So duty-free is this magical place in airports where you can buy things without paying local taxes. So you will be able to see some designer clothes, maybe some expensive perfumes, makeup, and things like that. Maybe books, I don't know, but you can browse this. Normally they're big stores, and you can spend a little bit of time just browsing and admiring these designer items because they are still very expensive to buy. Even though it's duty-free, I find them to be expensive. But I would buy something for myself normally if I wanted to treat myself. So if you happen to be at the duty-free shopping and you see something you like, you can ask the attendant, how much is this? Or how much is this in US dollars or in Australian dollars? You can use some currency. Also, if you're ready to buy something, you can say, do you take credit cards? Do you take cash or credit cards? I don't know if you're able to pay by cash these days. I know in Australia, they prefer to have everything through credit cards, okay? So always bring your card with you. So if you're not sure what I mean by duty-free shopping or what this duty-free means, according to the Weon Inteligente or the online dictionary, duty-free means goods, items sold without the usual taxes, often to international travelers. So locals can't buy duty-free shopping. Only when you leave through customs, then you have this opportunity to buy something that's tax-free. All right, hopefully that makes sense. Let's say you bought yourself something nice and now you're going to find your gate. You have to go and board the plane. So that's your step 4. When it's time to board, always listen for announcements. There will be a voice coming through the intercom, like the whole airport is always noisy, but there will be an announcement made closer to your gate. Something like, it might be something like this: now boarding passengers in group 3, or now boarding passengers at gate 6, 9, or any number, okay? So you just have to pay attention to this announcement that comes from time to time at the airport. If you're not sure what you heard over the announcement, you can stop somebody in the uniform. Usually there are heaps of people there that you can talk to. You can say, which gate is this flight boarding from? So you can point to your boarding pass and you can say, can you point me in the right direction? Which gate is this flight boarding from? Normally, your boarding pass will have everything you need, okay? This is like your map to navigate the airport. So your boarding gate will be clearly numbered, okay? And everything at the airport is clearly marked. There are signs everywhere. There's little icons that you can spot, and like you can see where the gates are, where the flight departure arrivals are. It's really hard to get lost at the airport. So let's imagine you have approached gate number blah, let's say gate number 3. You're there, there are some people in the queue, and you're not sure if this is the right queue. You can ask somebody, is this the boarding queue for flight number blah blah? Flight number will be clearly displayed on the boarding pass. Okay, is this the boarding queue? Queue means people are waiting to board. Okay, is this the boarding queue for flight number blah blah? Now let me share a personal story. On one of my trips, I made the rookie mistake, like a silly mistake, of following a group of people thinking they were going to my gate that was on the boarding pass. So I just blindly followed people. I wasn't really focused what I was doing. And they happened to be going somewhere else. They were going to Starbucks. Okay, there's cafes at the airport. So they were going to Starbucks, and I was just following them, thinking they were going to the gate. So I missed the first boarding call. I didn't even listen to the announcement and had to run like a maniac to the other side of the airport to go to my gate. Because the gates can be spread out anywhere at the airport. This is why it's important to pay attention to gate numbers, to pay attention to the announcements, always double checking your boarding pass. Sometimes whatever is on the boarding pass will change, like the gate number could change while you're at the airport, and then you'll need to refer to the screens. They also have screens with all the flight numbers and gate numbers listed almost every 5 meters, so you can also refer to those. But just make sure you don't follow other people, random people, because you're going to end up somewhere else. Okay, so step 5. Now you went through the boarding process. You flew, you were in the plane, and now you have arrived. Let's say you landed in Sydney or Melbourne. What's the next step? You'll go through passport control and customs. Okay, that's your next step. After you go through customs, you'll need to look for baggage claim. If you're not sure what this is, you can ask somebody, where is the baggage claim? Means the pickup area for your luggage. Baggage claim is the area where you pick up your luggage after a flight. Normally, you'll see little signs of bags. Everything's displayed nicely at the airport. You'll see a sign for bags and just follow that sign. And when you're at these big airports like Sydney and Melbourne, and you need to go to another city, so you need something called a connecting flight, or you need to go to a domestic terminal. You can ask somebody, how do I get to the domestic terminal? This is where local flights are, domestic flights. So this is especially important if you have a connecting flight, remember. So if you need to go to another city from Sydney or Melbourne, let's say, you need to connect on a different domestic flight. So exactly what my mother-in-law will go through when she arrives here, okay? So you need to look for a domestic terminal or just ask somebody, how do I get to the domestic terminal? Cool bananas, amigos y amigas. Now, let me just summarize all the tips here so you can remember them. So tips to avoid getting lost at the airport. Number 1, follow the signs. They're usually in multiple languages as well and have little icons, like I said, icon of a bag, of a little plane departing or arriving. Then talk to the airport staff. They're used to helping travelers and they also speak multiple languages. You could try to speak to them in Spanish as well. Okay, and always keep your boarding pass handy. This is that little piece of paper you get when you check in. Always keep it very close to you. Keep it handy. You'll need it multiple times when you're at the airport. And don't be afraid to double check everything that's on your boarding pass. So always check for the gate number, that it matches your boarding pass. For any updated information, normally this is displayed on the screens that have all the flight information. That's every 5 meters or 10 meters at the airport. You can check it out. Always double check everything that's on your boarding pass. Cool. All right, amigos y amigas, it's time for our repeat after me segment. I'm going to say each phrase slowly. I'm going to share 3 phrases with you, and then you're going to repeat these phrases after me so you can practice your pronunciation. Okay. Phrase number 1. I'd like to check in, please. I'd like to check in, please. I would like to check in, please. Number 2, which gate is this flight boarding from? Which gate is this flight boarding from? Number 3, where is the baggage claim? Where is the baggage claim? Nice work, amigos y amigas. Now, if you or someone you know is planning to travel to an English-speaking country, these phrases will help you feel confident in airports and on planes. And if you want to practice more everyday travel English with me, visit englishmadesimple.net/learn-with-me. Thanks for joining me today. You've been jamming with Milena. Keep practicing, amigos y amigas. Stay cool and keep in touch. Until next time, hasta la próxima.